2020 was certainly a year to remember, and for many, not for good reasons. But to gaming fans like us, the year was chock full of amazing titles on all platforms. To help shine a light on some of the best games the Xbox Era team played, we decided to create a list of the top 30 games of last year. We're an Xbox-focused community, yes, but we do play games on other systems as well, so don't be surprised if you see a few titles not available on Xbox. Now of course this list is only a reflection of the games the team at Xbox Era has played and enjoyed the most in 2020, and is in no way an objective classification of the game's qualities. The list is also based only on games that we've played, so if your favorite title didn't make the list or wasn't as high as you expected, don't worry. It could simply be that not enough of us played the game last year. Now with that out of the way, please follow us as we dive into what we think are the top 30 games of 2020. Number 30. Hades. Though my time with the game itself has been limited, there are few games I've spent more time adoring than Hades in 2020. Developer Supergiant used the early access program to craft a masterpiece. The graphics are stellar, voice acting is excellent, the story is compelling, and the gameplay is sublime. Gameplay balance in a roguelike game can be pretty difficult. Game-breaking builds can become common, but Hades spent its time finding that razor-thin edge of hard but approachable. Never once did I find a build that was significantly better than another. So much of it just comes down to what you enjoy and do best with. Hopefully this one hits consoles this year, so that non-PC owners can get a taste of the best that gaming has to offer. Number 29. Destiny 2 Beyond Light. Destiny has had a complicated history. With numerous rough first launches, Bungie seems to always improve upon the base game and make it better. With Beyond Light, they opted to do almost a fresh start for players. The story in the game is engaging, and I found myself going back to the world again and again to complete missions and strikes. The gameplay hook is still there, the lore is as deep as always, and Destiny 2 finally got that 60 FPS update with the next-gen consoles. I have to admit, Bungie still knows shooters, and still knows how to make them very fun to play. Number 28. New Super Lucky's Tale. While not an entirely new game, New Super Lucky's Tale fits its many flaws from the previous game, Super Lucky's Tale. When the latter was released, I always felt it was unfairly compared to juggernauts like Super Mario Odyssey, as it released around the same time. Now while Lucky's Tale isn't a AAA platformer by any means, I found it still held itself nicely within the genre. The levels are all well sized, the controls feel tight, the music is memorable, and, most importantly, the game did a great job at incentivizing you to collect everything. In most platformers, 100%ing a level almost feels like too much work, or not enough work. Lucky's Tale found that perfect balance between the two. If you're a fan of platformers, and heck, even if you're not, New Super Lucky's Tale is deserving of at least a try. Number 27. ASTRO'S Playroom. ASTRO'S Playroom feels like a handcrafted video game. From the ridiculously clean and solid 60 visuals to the super tight gameplay, it all just feels premium. Right up there with the best that Nintendo has produced of late. It's also going to be the standard bearer and best example of use of haptics for the DualSense, and frankly any other controller that uses the tech. It's ridiculously well implemented here. Arguably the best game from the PS5 launch, and it's free. Number 26. Welcome to Elk. I was only made aware of this game by This Week on Xbox, but I was intrigued enough to buy a copy. This is a game that is all about searching for and discovering the stories of real people living in a harsh environment, and these are stories worth listening to. With the mixture of art styles, fourth wall breaking sections, and very unique minigames, there is no other game quite like this. I really enjoyed my time on Elk. Number 25. Super Mario 3D All-Stars. What can I say, each of these games has been with me during a different part of my life in a big way. Super Mario 64 released when I was in grade school, and I got the game the holiday launch of the Nintendo 64. After some time and learning about the game, I grew to love it. Getting all 120 stars was a strong goal of mine, and achieving it felt great. Super Mario Galaxy released when I was in college, and frankly, it was an epic game. Flying from small planet to small planet and getting stars never felt old, each planet offering something unique. These games are part of gaming history, and also a big part of numerous people's lives. Number 24. Call of Duty Warzone. I admit I don't play as much Warzone as others, however I do understand why it's so fun to play. There's so much to do in being added to the Battle Royale genre, obtaining bounties to control points for money which can then be used to get your best loadouts. Coming up with a strategy on where to land and what to do with your squad or buddy is key, and while the engagements generally feel the same, they never get boring. The map Verdansk is huge and offers a nice variety of locations for different playstyles. The Battle Pass offers a fair bit as well, with great weapon blueprints, characters to play as, emotes, and banners. There is no shortage of things to unlock. Call of Duty Warzone was definitely the best Battle Royale of 2020 and shows no signs of slowing down. Number 23. F1 2020. A yearly title making a top 30 is surprising, as most of these games are iterative. F1 2020 did add something to the formula though. The My Team mode offers players the option to start their own team. You can create your own logo, team colors, and you can also fill your fancy racing car with numerous sponsors. You'll have to manage the R&D, cash flow, and the second driver of your team. Meanwhile, the rest of the game remains a great experience for F1 fans. Number 22. Deep Rock Galactic. Looking for a fun co-op experience? Look no further than Deep Rock Galactic. The silly humor, functional but beautiful art style, and engaging gameplay make for an excellent cooperative title. The 1.0 version of Deep Rock Galactic released this year, and it couldn't have come at a better time. Available on Xbox Game Pass and the perfect dumb fun during a lockdown. Number 21. The Messenger. In the year of Ori and the Will of the Wisps, it's a tough ask for any side-scrolling game to stand out, let alone one with such a classic art style. Yet that's exactly what The Messenger was able to do. With great level variety, charming humor, some well-placed twists, and a top-of-the-line soundtrack, this game was one of the best Game Pass launches we've had. If anyone is a fan of 2D side-scrollers, ninjas, or stories narrated by dubious hooded figures, you owe it to yourself to play this game. Number 20. Haven. It's unlikely that I would have ever played Haven had it not been available on Game Pass, so it is pleasing that it's my second favorite game of the year. The game is beautiful, the controls are fluid, and the electronic soundtrack is extremely chilled. It also boasts one of the best opening sequences in a game that I've ever played. Gameplay is varied, and the relationship building aspect really made me care for the lead characters. Taboo subjects, which are a part of everyday life as a couple, were covered in a mature manner, and were a refreshing surprise to see in a video game. Number 19. CARRION. CARRION is a reverse horror game where you play as the source of the horror. Instead of running from the creature, you are the creature, wreaking havoc, killing lab workers, and trying to escape a labyrinth. As a blend of horror and Metroidvania, you make your way through the lab, finding upgrades and power-ups to help deal with new situations, like flamethrower enemies or cloaking to get by laser detectors. It's a focused experience that's a fresh take on the side-scrolling genre, offering smooth movement and interesting gameplay mechanics. It's also on Xbox Game Pass and is worth at least a download. Number 18. Tell Me Why. Telling a meaningful story through interactive entertainment is at the core of what Don't Nod creates. Tell Me Why is no different in this regard. The story of two siblings in an Alaskan town is a good example of how episodic content can work in Microsoft's new reality. If you're into story-focused games and want to have a relaxing evening, then I can wholeheartedly recommend Tell Me Why. Number 17. Minecraft Dungeons. Minecraft Dungeons could well be one of the most divisive games on this list. People expecting a game with the depth of Path of Exile or Diablo in a Minecraft world were disappointed, but I believe Mojang has succeeded in the goal they've set. They've brought in a new audience with accessible mechanics and a recognizable and more colorful art style. While Minecraft Dungeons won't win awards for reinventing the genre or for great storytelling, it did keep me hooked with the difficulty spikes and engaging gameplay. Dungeons is a great addition to the Minecraft set and can proudly stand tall next to the other games on this list. Number 16. Ghost of Tsushima. Ghost of Tsushima is a sprawling, beautiful game filled to the brim with things to do. It follows the story of Jun as he transforms from a noble samurai into a dishonorable ghost, doing whatever he deems necessary to save his people. With breathtaking vistas, a memorable soundtrack, and a refreshing take on open world design, Ghost of Tsushima is a must-play for fans of the genre.
I am samurai, but I will sacrifice everything for my home.
Number 15. SPIRITFARER. Independent games can be a hit or miss. I remember when this game was revealed on Microsoft stage back in 2019. Keanu Reeves had just left after revealing the release date for Cyberpunk 2077, and the contrast couldn't have been bigger, as the trailer for SPIRITFARER was a peaceful and colorful experience which captivated me. While I played it this summer, that same feeling happened again. I was enthralled by the colorful world and mysterious but somber storyline. A game about death has never been this colorful and emotional. A true indie classic which deserves more recognition. Number 14. Streets of Rage 4. This game was everything I could have wanted in a sequel to such a venerable series that I've always held in such high regard. It's clear that both Lizard Cube and Guard Crush get it. They managed to create a sequel that stands right alongside its predecessors, despite having to manage fan expectations and the ever-present nostalgia. Number 13. Cyberpunk 2077. The launch of this game was certainly a scandal of biblical proportions, to the point that even mainstream media, like BBC, decided to get involved. Broken promises, practically unplayable last-gen versions, missing enhancements from the new consoles, all kinds of glitches and overly simplified game elements. It's clear that this game was not ready for release, and CD Projekt Red had to cut all kinds of corners to satisfy a release date asked by shareholders. And yet, underneath all of these issues lies one of the most ambitious and exciting open-world games ever made. A brilliant, futuristic dystopia, excellent characters, a surprisingly satisfying first-person gameplay loop, and all kinds of fascinating tech that made our heads spin. That mess of a launch probably denied the game from a top 3 finish in our chart, but its qualities are demonstrated by the fact that it's still strong in our list, despite the issues. Number 12. YAKUZA, Like a Dragon. Having played 3 other YAKUZA games on Xbox during the house arrest that was 2020, I feared that I might have series burnout when I started playing this title. It soon became apparent that I didn't, and I was able to sink a solid 90 hours of play into 2.5 weeks. The move to turn-based RPG freshened up the gameplay, and it was pleasant to be able to hang around in a gang when in real life I couldn't do anything like that. A fresh setting, a complex story of friendship and betrayal, and a new bunch of somewhat eccentric characters made the game a real standout in the YAKUZA franchise. Number 11. Gears 5, Hivebusters. Hivebusters is a great contained game that makes use of what makes Gears so special and expands on the formula in many ways. Gears 5 was a bit of a letdown for me, as I thought it expanded on the series' weakness while not focusing on most of its strengths. Hivebusters goes in the complete opposite direction, and is an action-packed 3 to 4 hour game that has awesome locations and set pieces. Hivebusters is easily the most colorful a Gears game has been, breathing a lot of life into a series that has often been criticized for being a little too grey. If you're interested at all in Gears, Hivebusters is a must-play. Number 10. Gears Tactics. This game takes the turn-based strategic combat made famous by XCOM and blends it with the Gears of War universe. It's a more accessible strategy game and is well optimized to be played with a controller. The missions have enough variety to make the campaign interesting, and as it serves as a prequel to the whole series, knowledge of the previous games isn't required. It's a fun experience that adds new life to the Gears IP and is well polished. Highly recommended to give it a try on Game Pass. Number 9. Microsoft Flight Simulator. In a year when we're all stuck indoors, being able to virtually take to the skies and explore not just our own neck of the woods but the entire world was a blessing. A beautiful marriage of technology and innovation, and a must-play for anyone with a good rig. The end of 2020 saw VR support added, alongside a Series XS release announced for later this year. I'm looking forward to taking to the skies once again, but this time on console. Number 8. The Last of Us, Part 2. This is a complex game in a multitude of ways. It features a story that often feels too convoluted for its own good, though the gameplay is one of the best examples of third-person stealth in recent memory. The easiest way to describe Part 2 is simply more. More story, more characters, more crushing violence. A lot of it works, but sometimes it feels like Naughty Dog doesn't know when to let off the gas. The Last of Us Part 2 is often great, sometimes messy, but overall a game worth experiencing. Number 7. Wasteland 3. One of my first reviews for this site was for a game that hadn't been on my radar at all. Within the first few hours of playing it though, I became hooked in a way that few things had grabbed me. The writing is an excellent blend of dark humor and genuine emotion. The graphics are serviceable, the music is fantastic, and the gameplay is sublime. Choices matter, and even on easy, the game is no pushover. Whether it's a dialogue option or a combat encounter, you have to think through every decision you make. Start up a fight the wrong way, and you kiss your butt goodbye. Piss off the wrong person, and a scenario that could have ended peacefully will quickly turn into a bloodbath. For a genre that's not normally up my alley, this game delivered. Number 6. Tetris Effect Connected. This game is, to this point, the best version of Tetris that exists. I adore Tetris 99, and up until now, Tetris DS was probably my all-time favorite, but Connected just blows right past both. It's a mandatory play for Tetris and puzzle game fans, a must for music lovers, and anyone who appreciates good visual artistry. But most importantly, it's just so damn fun. Xbox owners have no excuse not to dive in, as Tetris Effect Connected launched straight into Game Pass, and I implore everyone to give it a try. Number 5. Call of the Sea. This game is a very personal story, but also a wonderful blend of puzzle, adventure, and emotion. Sumptuous graphics and a well-acted script go hand in hand with a suitably Lovecraftian adventure full of mystery and intrigue. The real achievement here is making the island on which this adventure is staged feel alive, engrossing you within it. This was developer Out of the Blue's debut title, and it certainly makes the studio one to watch in the future. Number 4. Assassin's Creed Valhalla. This is the best game in the series since it turned into an RPG, and overall the best game since Assassin's Creed 2. Valhalla continues to evolve the ever-familiar formula of the standard Ubisoft open world. The game feels more natural than other Ubisoft games, as you will stumble upon open world events and activities and not solely rely on question marks on the map. Beyond the evolution of the open world, we also see an evolution in almost every other aspect, making it an exceptional action game, and one that I would highly recommend. Number 3. Immortals Fenyx Rising. I didn't know a lot about this game even before the name change. Completely off my radar, and it was recommended to me by a guy who plays PUBG 95% of his time. When I started playing, the setting, movement, combat, art, puzzles, and gameplay loop kept me glued to the screen. I knew Ubisoft had something special when they managed to make an open world game that's fun to play without a grind and boring mechanics. The main story unfolds like the history book for a Fortnite generation. Though most of the dialogue and humor feels cringeworthy, it somehow works. In the end, you are becoming a champion in the ancient mythology telenovela show, so the bar for seriousness is already pretty low. The pearl is in the polished gameplay, and the fact that no matter what you do in the game, it's fun. Number 2. Doom Eternal. Bigger, badder, and bolder is the philosophy Texas-based id Software went for with this bombastic sequel to one of the best first-person shooters of the generation. An even more exhilarating combat loop, a crazy story with buckets of fan service, yet another timeless soundtrack by the legend Mick Gordon, a brilliant technical aspect, and an astonishing amount of gore to paint the arenas with, Doom Eternal is one for the books. The game's magnificent single player on a demon-infested planet Earth may just be the best first-person shooter campaign of the entire 8th generation of consoles. And Microsoft most certainly hit the jackpot by putting their hands on this legendary software house when they opted to buy their publisher. Only one question remains: how do they top this? Number 1. Ori and the Will of the Wisps. The second Ori game is a title that soars above the expectations of a platformer, and its predecessor alike. It manages to tell an even more powerful story about family and loss, while simultaneously expanding on the world and its lore without feeling contrived. Players traverse this lovingly crafted world with even more tools and means of customizing the game to their playstyle, so the journey somehow feels even more personal than that of the first game. Ori 2 flourishes with a bevy of NPCs that provide further context for the player, and offers side quests to differentiate itself from other Metroidvanias that have come and gone over the past decade. Perhaps more importantly, these side quests never feel like chores or filler tasks, because Moon Studios manages to make the player care about these side characters. I could write an entire novel about all the reasons this game holds a special place in my heart, and I haven't even mentioned the impeccable soundtrack from Gareth Coker, the beauty of the game's graphics and art style, and how it feels like a Studio Ghibli world come to life. Suffice it to say, Ori and the Will of the Wisps is a rare masterpiece, a game that collides with perfection seldom seen in the industry, and one that deservedly received universal acclaim from critics alike, including being XboxEra's Game of the Year of 2020. So this is our list. Do you agree with it? Disagree with it? Please let us know in the comments below. This is also the first time we've done a video with this list-like format. If you enjoyed it, let us know and we'll see if we can do it again. Thank you for watching.